Yeah, that's fine. So in terms of setup, I said a lot of good things in your setup there we liked. As we said, when you've got an edge of the mat there, Mike, and it's square, you're never going to be offline aiming, okay? We'll look at this on the golf course next lesson now in terms of where your direction's pointing, okay? Just to get you aiming up square. Certainly now the shots on here, I know you said on the assessment it was not your normal game of golf, but there were some shots in there no doubt you would have on a golf course, hence why you're not scoring.
And those I pointed out, which is
exactly, yeah. And if you hit the kind of golf ball like this to some extent, you probably wouldn't be that far off sort of mid to 14 handicap kind of thing at the moment, okay? So because most of those golf balls are going forwards 130 yards, 140 yards, within about 30 yards either side of middle, okay? So in the golf course area, not sort of scuttling off the side or snap hooks left, okay? So they're going to be in play. The issue for me, as we said, is you're trying to stop over the top. What all you did was, okay, the club's going to come back over the top. I'm going to whip that club now way on the inside, okay? When the club then goes this far behind you and starts going up this way very flat, you kind of have to come back over the top to the golf ball, okay? Yeah. So your club has to be over the top to its original direction, okay? What we want to try and do is take this golf club now away a bit more in front of you. So when your hands are at this position, you can see now your left wrist, okay? So your left arm, the club head, and therefore your left wrist are nicely in line, okay? As you then hinge the wrist up and your wrists hinge in the golf and kind of working around the joint this way, we want to keep that left wrist flatter as the club gets to the top of the backswing. Again, the same point here now. What we want to try and see is your left arm, the club face, and your left wrist in line. You can see there now your club face is a little bit open, yeah? Now, if your club is a little bit open, not the end of the world, it depends how much it's open, obviously, that's going to be very difficult to get the club back to the ball and get on the inside. Because if you come back on the inside and the face is aiming over here, you come back on the inside, it's just going further right. So there needs to be a little bit of an element over the top. But if we look at those two backswing positions, when you're getting behind you here, and you're very flat, just how much more behind you that club is. There's a more leg movement, there's a gap between your legs there, because your hips are sort of swung deeper, the club way behind you here, and getting back to that goal was going to be very difficult unless you go over the top. Yeah,
that's all come out of frustration. Basically, desperately to trying to get away from that auto inswing,
exactly.
Which, again, I think many years not realising that is the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's why I think a lot of times people, they know their symptoms. A symptom to me is over the top. Nobody, well, I'm not saying no because people obviously do this, okay, but very rarely will someone stand perfect to the golf ball, have the club perfect there, top of the backswing, nice and square, and then for some reason go whoop, over the top. Most of the time, over the top is caused by a setup, either alignment or position with their body, or a backswing. And there's a need and a want to come back over the top just to get the golf ball to go straight, otherwise it's going to go off the right there, okay? What we're going to try and do now in the backswing, as we said, so you can do so obviously with the wall there, swing back so the club's up in front of you more, missing that one. And from here now, the club now, we can try and get the club to work more behind. Now from here now, not too bad. As we get to about here, this club at this position is not too bad at all. The club's coming back down there, the next frame there. That club, we had the first video, the club was kind of out here, wasn't it? Now the club head's kind of moved in a bit more inside slightly. Just working more down the direction we want to swing, but doing so without you trying to compensate. The club here now, I would say, is probably working about 2 to 3 degrees out to inside, okay, which is fine. Now, obviously, as your golf club does swing anyway, a normal into square to in path, if that is the golf ball there, and you're hitting the golf ball with a nice into square to in path, just looking at that green line, where would your divot be pointing? If this is your target line here, the middle of the ball there, your divot will be left of the target line, slightly. So don't oh my God, my divot's left, and start panicking. You've got to try and go further right. We never want a divot going in that direction. Okay?
Well,
so don't try to get it too much on the inside that way.
Yeah, well, this is what I tried to do, but my divot's always been, I would say, considerably left. Well,
some have been, I imagine, quite a bit left, in fair, yeah.
Sort of, it's got to be sort of there.
Yeah, I mean, 15, 20 degrees left would be something that you would have in the past, okay? But what you would then try and do to compensate for that is aim further right, whip the club further inside, so there's no physical way now of swinging it 20 degrees over there, but there's no physical way of swinging the golf club back to the golf ball with any sort of consistency. So, and that's the thing. And if we look at if you remember when we had the assessment on the rain on the course there, your follow-through position, there wasn't many of your swings where your leg action finished like that. Most of them finished with your feet kind of this way. And that's just you trying at the golf ball over here somewhere, based on your body going right and trying to go and do that. So when your alignment's better, okay, you can certainly swing it better, okay. And again, you work. I mean, this one here now did start a little bit left and just drift back a little bit. I think it was a 6 or 7 you got there, is it?
7. Yeah.
That was pitching about 147, 148, which isn't disastrous, is it? I mean, that's not bad compared to, I think on the golf course you had a couple of shots there on the 18th. There was about 135, an 8 I think, and you hit one of the first one was obviously in the bush. The second one just went a bit to the right down quite high because of that technique, and it just went splash in the water. Yeah. So you put an 8 on 100 yards. So an 8 on 100 yards compared to a 6 on 150 is a big gap in terms of what it would normally be. Your 8 on based on a 6 on at 150, should we say rounding up, would be about 130. Yeah. So if we can get that club face square, so I think to go away from today now to practice, okay, work on that takeaway and that left wrist, and as we said, just to sort of put some lines on here, okay. If your spine angle, which it is obviously a very good start position there, okay, at that position here now, as the club goes back, okay, that is parallel, that is parallel. So your left arm, your spine and the club head are in line. If you whip it behind you inside here, it's only going to do that. How can the club get behind you here now? What's going to happen? Your forearms are doing this, you see. And when I held your hand, maybe you could get your top, I don't know, but gripping your hand and said just turn your torso, you went, and the club went there. When I just held the shaft, you went, and naturally this happened, yeah? You were trying to turn and rotate your arms this way, yeah, and get the club more in behind position, okay? If we just go here now and keep the club here, this can stay a lot flatter, which keeps the club face square. And that's going to definitely help your path into the golf ball, because when you start on the ball this way a bit more now, yeah, then we can start moving the path towards the target. Yeah?
Again, what's going on here is, again, maybe some good, maybe some bad, because where I like this at distance, so we better understand the reason why.
Yeah.
Is because I've always been told, I've gone across, again, not so good information.
Yeah.
To get this working from here, the more turn you have, the more
to a point that is right, and I think the thing is sometimes advice given isn't wrong but isn't relevant. If I said to somebody who has a really bad cough and they're sneezing and they've got running eyes and itchy nose and just feeling bad, yeah, you need antibiotics. Well, actually, you've got an allergy towards cats. So what's that going to do? Yeah, if you've got streaming eyes and running, you might have the flu, but you might have an allergy to hay fever. You might have an allergy to cats. You might have whatever it may be. Just because you've got a headache, it could be you need painkillers. It might be you've had ice cream too quickly. Who knows? I mean, so just the advice that people give in terms of turn your hips more to get more power. Yeah, it's right. I mean, the more hip turn you have and the more turn you can create, the more power you can create. But in your point of view, the reason why you were losing power was not because of lack of hip turn, was because the face open. Or face open a lot to the path. Yeah. Okay? And then you try to change the path rather than change the club face. So there's always a change that we've implemented. We're always slightly incorrect. Okay. So you're never really going to get down the right path and sort of just going, just never really sort of going in the right direction.
So initiating the downswing.
Yeah.
I mean, once I at this point.
Yeah. So for me, once you get there now, you're getting yourself in your backswing position at the top. So once you're at the top here now, you've got to kind of put a little bit more of just that. Yeah. Okay. Don't worry about your hips moving. Your hips will move. I promise you. Okay. You would find it almost impossible not to move your hips. So feel the arms just sort of falling down here, and this staying a little bit more in that flatter position. And your body's just going to unwind, like you're going to turn your hips.
So and just to
yeah, of course, yeah.
Again,
just get clear, and please, I'd rather you get that clear so you can go away till they go, okay, I know what I'm trying to do, yeah.
So someone said to me, initiate the downswing by shifting the hip here.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Will that not flatten?
Yeah, do that again, stop there, do that again. Yeah, do that again, move your hip, flatten your hip, okay. So there you go, that face is wide open. Look at your left wrist, point into the sky. So you moved your hips fantastically well, keep rotating your body. That's all, so that ball's going 50 yards right. So the more you fire this, you forget that. Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about your hips. So focus on what that club's doing.
Have this drop in.
Exactly.
Here.
Get this working. So when you're top of the backswing here now, you've got to be more conscious of what this club head is doing. Because if I said to you now, just keep hold of the golf club and stop moving your hips, okay? Don't move it. They're going to move, aren't they? They're going to fire. I mean, the reason why they doing this and move back, which is what we said was a symptom, because the face is open. Okay, if your club face when you do this is wide open, the only way you can get a ball towards target is to go and do that. Okay, if your club face was closed or square, okay, you wouldn't then feel the need to want to do this, would you? Because the ball would then just go 50 yards left. So your hips would kind of work anyway. So trying to fire your hips first, all that did for you was got you him, and you got it because that pulling sensation with the hips and the arms doing this, you did this. And what you'll see happen, look at my watch. So my watch now is kind of rotating, so my wrist now is facing the sky. And this is what you do there. You fire your hips, you get the path coming down nicely, then you do this with your left hand. The club face then is wide open. Then as you start twisting through, the club face is left 20 degrees open. You get a floaty one 80 yards high right. You go, well, that wasn't very good. Maybe gone out of bounds or in the water somewhere. So the next one you get there, okay, right. Same kind of sensation. And you go, oh, hang on, whoa, go left. So a lot of movements that we see are wrong are very often a symptom of what he's doing, what the clubfish is doing, yeah? So in your mind, I think I would focus more on what this is doing in two things, okay? In that regard, open to close, and this regard, over the top and into out, okay? If you start trying to focus on this and other body parts, this gets neglected and then just comes back into kind of this position, then you just, well, it's going to go right in there. So happy with that now? Yeah.
So